Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jaylee. This is Jaylee's Corner, and this is my review for Greenleaf, Season 2, Episode 13, Silence and Loneliness. So, I actually watched this episode earlier today. It came on yesterday. It was a pretty good episode. I think a lot of things happened today, and let's just get into it. We see the episode starts off. This episode shows that Greenleaf the Grace is having, even before. I think the last two episodes, kind of since she killed Meg, she's been having trouble sleeping. So they never said why she was having trouble sleeping. So today we see, it starts off with she's having nightmares. She is in her dream and she sees a girl running away. And she just sees the girl running away. And you then hear Mac's voice of saying, she can't hear you. And she's like, I didn't say anything. And Mac was like, good girl. And she kind of wakes up and we realize the reason she's been having trouble sleeping all this time is because she's having these, strange nightmares. It's then the scene of her talking to Sophia, and Sophia's asking her about her and Darius, and she's saying, me and Darius is kind of taking a break, and she's like, Mom, how relationships work, right? You know how they, the key to a relationship. She's like, no, what is it, Sophia? And she was like, actually having one. Meaning you don't even have a real relationship with this man because you keep, not just basically not being serious, is what she's basically saying. So the next thing we see is Carissa is still feeding information to Bishop and to May. And she's now brought them evidence that Skanks has been stealing the church's money. Now, stealing the church's money has been a saying for a long time. You like, man, they done caught you fucking with the church's money. And this time, they really caught this man messing up the church's money. He'd been stealing from the church, but having people think that he was losing his own money when he was really losing church money. And, she has gotten the account records that shows, all this money that he's been taking out and then putting the money back in when he gets it back. But he's been taking out large sums of money. And she's like, the accountant didn't realize any of this. And she's like, well, no, May asked, did the accountant not see any of this? And she's like, well, she was scared. But we also told her that if the police get involved, that she wouldn't be, in trouble or anything. So Bishop like, look, I'm going to go to him and I'm going to basically tell him he can, he has to resign from the church or we're going to go to the police, with this thing that he's been doing. And Chris is like, okay, but you have to make him put Jacob in charge at Triumph. That's what I want to happen. And May like, we get it. We know that you didn't do this just for Bishop. We know, that you also did it for Jacob. We all want to see Jacob succeed. And, she's like, yeah, that's true. Carissa leaves. And then May like, Triumph was going to be cavalry too. And Bishop like, one thing at a time. I'm looking like, that's a little sniggy-diggy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You can, they a little bit sneaky. So, we see a little scene, and it's Zora in the car with that boy. That's what my Aunt Willie would say about any boy that she would see us talking to. You over there with that boy? Even if she knew the boy name, you over there with that boy? Tell that boy to get on over here. And it's always that boy. So, yeah. But she with that boy and, the boy Isaiah. And, she's basically asking him if he got his suit for her cotillion yet. And he's like, oh, no, I haven't gotten it yet. And she's like, well, you need to hurry up because, other guys have had to go to different stores to get one because they're kind of selling out. So you need to hurry up and get one. And she's so young and dumb that she don't even realize that boy don't care about that goddamn cotillion. He don't want to go. Because when she's saying, she's showing that it's important to her. And he just like, yeah, okay, whatever, fine. And just not really paying attention. But she's like, you need to hurry up. He's like, yeah, okay. But I'm like, he don't care. But she young and stupid and then slept with his boy and she think that's her boyfriend. And, even though she's being real stupid. But, we see that. Next we see Charity is back in Nashville with that boy, that man, Jabari. And, he's mentioning how things would be easier if she would just move to Nashville so that way she wouldn't have to fly back and forth. And she's like, well, that, well, I ain't gonna move here until things are a little bit, till everything is clear. And he's like, what? And she's like, nothing. Huh. Hint. Meaning, I wouldn't move here because I don't even know where we stand. I think you like me, but I don't know if you like me. But I think you like me, but I don't know. But she kind of plays it off. Then he then says, I'm going to leave to go get your hotel room situated. And she's like, oh, well, I know you're probably used to people and their big demands, but if you want, you can just put me, if you have a spare room, I can stay in your spare room. You don't have to get me a hotel. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Meaning, I can sleep in your house, Mr. Man. And he was like, oh, no, it's no problem. This way you'll have your own privacy. And then he leaves. She's like, oh, okay. Because she's trying to throw out hints of them being more. He keeps shooting it down, trying to keep it professional. Next, we see Bishop confronting Skanks. Now, this is a scene I think I've been waiting for a long time. Even though I feel like Bishop has his own burdens and has his own crosses to bear, Skanks, for the most part, we've always seen that he is a little bit crooked. We saw it a little bit more with the last season when it showed him gambling. It showed him actively playing with the church's money. So, it's a thing of, we see that he is being sinful and he's being deceitful. So, Skanks is like, 2 times in 1 week, I'm going to start to think you trying to, shine me up. And I'm looking like, well, okay. So, Bishop goes into, I know what you've been doing with the church's money. You've been messing up the church's money. And he's like, he then says his alias name. And he's like, I have proof that you stole large sums of money. And Skanks is like, oh, I'm confused, Oh, no, he said, okay, Satan, I'm confused, all that gossip is crazy. And Bishop like, it's not gossip. I have proof. I have copies of your records I got from the accountant. And he's like, how did you get those? And he was like, Jacob, he's like, well, that don't matter right now. What matters is I have this proof, and, I'm here to help you. He's like, Bishop, it ain't a problem in my life that you haven't caused, He said, yeah, there isn't a problem that I had that you didn't cause. Get out of my office. And Bishop like, look, here's the deal. Resign from church. Put Jacob on as pastor, and I won't turn you into the police. And he was like, isn't blackmail still a sin? It is. It really is. And he's like, you come in here peacocking, get out of my office. You know what I'm saying? Get out of my office. And he's like, get out, Spectre. I'm like, okay, speak that. Bishop leaves, but when he leaves, Skanks looks visibly shooken because he's still, in his head, he's trying to still play this game to where he can fix it. And if I just keep talking, because remember he said how he has a big mouth, he can talk his way out of any situation. So when Bishop comes into his office with proof, and he knows that what he's been doing, he has proof that he's been doing it, Skanks doesn't want to give in just yet. So we see that part. We see the next scene is Charity and Jabari are meeting with the artist who's trying to get her to write the song for her. And the artist is happy with the song, but she wants to tweak it a little bit. Everyone knows when you are a writer for other people, you can write something for a person, like a song for someone else, and they tweak it. But as long as it's still your premise, you are still a writer on the song. Charity was not having that. She just was sitting there the whole time looking angry, looking upset. She was looking as if Jabari agreeing with the artist, saying, yeah, we need to make this song yours, we get it. What tweaks do you want to do? Let us know. But she acting like, she looking like he cheating on her. Because she's just looking like, well, I thought you liked the song. And he's like, well, it's okay, we'll do whatever you need us to do with the song and everything like that. And he's like, the goal is to make it your song. And that is the goal of any songwriter. I don't think anyone has ever written a song and taken it to an artist, and the artist takes that song 100% exactly how the person wrote it. You always want the artist to put a little bit of themselves into the song so that when they sing it, they can feel it for themselves. You can't want someone to sing your song the way you meant it to be said. mainly because she was saying, I wanted to be a little bit more happier. You know, your song sounds a little bit like melancholy or depressed, something like that she said. And she's like, I wanted to be happier. And when she kind of put her spin on it, it was a happier tone to it. She wanted to slow the song down a little. She either wanted to slow it down or speed it up, one of the two. But she wanted just to tweak it a little bit. Charity didn't like that. So you see her being upset and having to hear tweaks to her work. The next thing we see, you know, Skanks is in his office. He's on the phone and everything. And we see that thug that was in the last time, that, you know, the gambling, collecting, bookie person. He comes stomping in. And Skanks is like, brother, how? Just about to call you. And he about to be, you know, shucking and jiving like he usually do and try to talk his way out of a situation. But the next thing we see is Skanks sit on the couch and he's beaten up. Bad, you know, he's swollen and bleeding and stuff like that. And, you know, he's got his ass. I'll be trying to cuss doing this. What? Y'all know me. He got his ass whooped because he didn't pay the people their money. And, you know, Tasha, his wife, is there, and she's crying. And she's distraught. And she's saying, baby, I'm scared. I'm scared. You know, I told you to stop. I told you to stop playing with them. Why didn't you listen to me? You need to turn yourself in. Just stop. And she's crying on his lap. And she's visibly terrified because they have came and beat her. And they beat him up in the church. They didn't beat him up at home. They didn't beat him up in the parking lot of a Popeye's chicken. They beat him up in the church, meaning you are playing with the church's money. So they came to where you were and they beat you up because they're not playing with you. And I've been saying to you, stop doing this, stop gambling, stop playing with their money, stop taking chance after chance after chance. And she's like, you know, why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you listen to me? And he's like, I couldn't hear you. And he's holding her because she's crying in his lap, and he's rubbing her back, and he's, you know, I'm sorry, baby, I'm sorry. I hear you. I don't know. And when she said, you know, why wouldn't you listen to me? Why didn't you listen to me? And she's crying in his lap, and he's like, I couldn't hear you. Meaning you were saying what I should do, but I was so caught up in what I was doing, because he was basically, you know, the devil's nectar. He was basically, he just couldn't hear her. And he admits that I couldn't hear you when you were telling me what to do. I thought I had it all together. And we see that was not true. The next thing we see is Charity confronting Jabari about what she felt about him and the other artists. So when the artists leave out, she's like, she wrecked my song. And Jabari like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? You know, she's the customer. You know, if you go by her notes, you would have a song on her album. And she's like, but no, that's my song. Why would you want to change things? He's like, look, if we make a fork, but someone wants to buy the fork, if they want us to put two handles on the fork, we have to do what they want. We manufacture things for people. You are making a song for someone else. It has to be geared towards them. And then she's like, what are we doing? And he's like, we're working, we're making music. What are you talking about? She's like, no. Do you like me, Jabari? You know, and he was like, of course I do. I wouldn't work with you if I didn't like you. And she was like, no, do you like me? And he was like, look, you know, because you kissed me, but then you kissed her. And he's like, look, you know, I don't work with people I like. And I kissed her on the cheek. And he's like, you know, but do you like me? You know, do you like me? And he was like, you know, I do. But, you know, we have to handle this work first. We can talk about all this other stuff later. And she's like, okay, fine. She's just happy that he at least said, you know, yeah, I do like you. And, you know, they can talk about it later. The next scene we have pissed me off. And I was like, I just want that boy. So we see Zora and Isaiah, that boy, is in the car, driving wherever. And in the first scene of them being in the car, he said I guess she doesn't put her seatbelt on right. She takes off this part of it and she puts it behind her, which is stupid. I don't know why. But I think some people do that, like if the seatbelt's too tight on their breast, or it could be, I don't know. That's what I used to do it, because sometimes it's, you know, it's confinement. You don't really like that. So in this scene, they're back in the car, and he's like, hey, I got a gift for you in the glove box. And look in there. So she looks in there, and it's tickets to some little concert. But she's like, this is the same weekend of my cotillion. And he's like, yeah, I figured we can go to this instead. And she's like, but I want to go to my cotillion. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want to go. You know, we should go to this. And she was like, She puts it back in the envelope, puts it back in the thing. She's like, but I don't want to go there. I want to go to my cotillion. And he's like, but I don't want to go. So if I don't go, who you going to go with? And she was like, I don't know. Somebody. And he looks over at her. And I swear he looked over at her and saw that she did not have her seatbelt on correctly. Because he didn't he hit the brakes real fast. And she was like, ah! And her head hit the dashboard. First of all, you tried to kill that girl. Because you stopped that car quick, knowing she didn't have her seatbelt on correctly. And she was like, Isaiah, what the hell? He's like, how many times have I told you to fix your seatbelt? And she's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Take me home. And he was like, you did it yourself. And she was like, take me home. And she was, they're going back and forth saying, take me home. Why? Whatever. And he was like, fine. I'll take it to the cotillion. And she was like, no. Take me home. And she's holding her head because she hit the dashboard pretty hard. So, yeah. The next thing we see is Bishop talking to Carissa, letting her know, Skanks didn't take the bait. He didn't say he would quit that he would resign, and that they're going to have to turn him into the police. And she's like, but what about Jacob? And he's like, Carissa, that wasn't part of the plan. The plan, we can't deal with that right now. And she's like, well, I know, but I just, was hoping that it would be an easy transition for Jacob to get, to be the pastor at Triumph. And he's like, have you even told Jacob yet? And she's like, no, I was waiting to tell him until it was something concrete. I didn't want to get his hopes up. So he's like, oh my God. Because now he's like, you doing all the stuff behind his back. That's not good. As they're talking, you hear knock, 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 knock on the door. And he's like, are you expecting somebody? She goes to the door. It's Tasha. And she's still at distraught. And she's crying. And she's saying, they beat up Bailey. They beat him up so bad. They just beat him up. They beat up my baby. He's hurt. He's So they're like, come in. But she's talking to Tasha. She's talking to Carissa, not knowing Bishop is even there. Bishop is listening, saying, because Tasha, Carissa was like, why, what happened? Because the money he owes him. They just beat him up really bad because he still owed them money. And then Bishop like, come on in. And then she realized, oh shit, Bishop is there. And he comes, tells her to have the seat. And, it goes on commercial, of course. So the next thing that we see is Tasha's now taking Bishop to Triumph with Beiji. And Beiji's still there, bleeding, hurting, beaten up and everything. And he's like, of all the people you wouldn't get him. And, why him of all people? And Bishop like, look at your son, what have you gotten yourself into? Why would you have your wife in a position like this? How much are you into them for? He like, don't call me son. Don't call me son. You can't get me off your conscience that easy, old man. Meaning, when he says, how much you into them for, he thinking Bishop saying, I'm going to pay them for you. And if I do that, whatever wrong I've done to you, it'll be off my conscience because I've now helped you. But I don't think that's why Bishop was doing that. He like, look, if you don't want my help, that's fine. But you better turn yourself in because as of now, the police are the only ones who can protect you. Meaning they didn't came and beat you up at court at church. You don't want my money. You still owe them the money. You don't have any money to pay them. So you need to go to prison or you need to go to jail because otherwise they're gonna kill you. And he's like, I'm gonna be fine. I ain't listening to y'all. So Bishop sit down. He say, look. If you don't want my help, you don't want. I'm gonna be honest with you. You need to resign. Pass the torch to Jacob. If you do it that way, you can do it in your own time. You can announce you're gonna resign in your own time, and you also have the know-how of knowing you're putting the church in someone's hands who is valuable and who can, do right by your church. The church is in good hands. And Tasha's still crying. She's been crying this whole time. And she's like, please do this. Please listen. Please do it for us. Do it for me. And she's crying and she's begging her husband to just listen to her for once. Because you wasn't listening before. But are you listening now? And as she's talking, he's looking right at her. And he's like, and he hears her. He's like, okay. I'll resign on Sunday. I'll announce it. I'll talk to the deacon board. I'll do it. She's like, thank you. Oh my God, thank God. Because she's just happy that he's listening to her and that things won't get worse because he doesn't want to listen. So next we see Jacob finding out all of this has been going on. He's talking to Chris like, why would you tell my family, tell my parents about Basie, and I told you not to, and as they're saying that, Zora comes walking in. When she speed walking to the bathroom, and they're like, hello, hi. She's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and she just speeds past them, and they don't see her face. So next thing we see is Jacob getting a call from Skanks, and he's basically saying, I don't want your church. I'm not having this. I didn't know about it until just now. I'm not trying to deal with this. Skanks is like, look, brother, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about God's people. And, I put my own flock in danger. And it's true, because you have hoodlums coming in, beating you up in your church, and that can hurt your flock. Because you are a man, you're supposed to be a servant of God. And, we go from that scene, and Jacob is listening to him. He's listening to him, so he's like, okay, I have to at least hear him out. We then see Zora in the bathroom, and when she cuts the light on and she move her hair out her face, whole, a big bruise here. Her face is a bit swollen. She pulls out her makeup and she starts covering it up. I don't like that, because you shouldn't even know how to cover up bruises, for one, and you're covering up for him because you don't want to be done with him. Also, you probably know that if your daddy see it, your daddy will probably kill him. So it's okay if you cover it up this one time, but you can't cover it up and still deal with that boy. Then it's just stupid. So, there's another scene that we see Grace, and she's like in the woods, in the same place that she was in her dream, and she's at like this little wooden entrance to something, and she hears the Mac voice telling her, it's too late to tell anyone now. You're gonna have to take that secret with you to the grave. No one will forgive you, and it's just her and these dreams that she keeps having, and these visions and things that she's hearing in her head. So next we see Jacob and Skanks, and they're having a conversation in person at the church. And it's like Skanks is having to really convince Jacob to take Triumph, mainly because he knows he's not in the place anymore to run Triumph. And, Jacob is basically hesitant because he's like, I had a plan for myself, and I feel like I'm finally up on my own 2 feet. And I don't want to feel like I'm being handed Triumph, because that's the easy route. And, Skanks is like, keep doing what you're doing. Keep going by the word that God is telling you to preach, and keep following that path. But how God is not giving you Triumph too? You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, just try it. Just do it for Triumph, because you will have it, and Triumph can still be your Church of the Free, or whatever its name is gonna be, whatever it's gonna be called. What else did we see? I don't think. Oh, so I'm like, what did I write down? There's a scene with Jacob talking to Carissa and telling Carissa that Skanks has agreed to make him pastor. They're going to announce it at church, and he's just taking it all in. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy you've done this." And he's like, "Okay, I need one thing from you. I need you to pray with me." And she's like, "For what?" I'm looking like, "What you mean for what? Why your husband gotta have a reason to pray with you? Why can't you just pray because you want to pray? Okay, we all need Jesus." And he's like, so we don't screw this up, so that we are obedient and faithful, that we are, following what God wants us to do. I want to know that God is with us and that I have you. And it's true, because my thing is, he's following a path to where he doesn't want to just do something just to do it. He wants to be sure that it's the right thing, and that this is what God is asking him to do, and that he's not being geared away from his thought process of how to get his word out. And she's like, "Yes, I'll pray for you, whatever you want." And then they do pray. We then see the whole scene with Jabari and Charity. He gives her reasons as to why things are the way they are. He says, "Look, let's talk. You have a child." And she's like, "Oh, so that's why, our children, off for you?" And he's like, "No, it's the complete opposite. He's like, you just have so much going on. I'm trying to be careful. I'm being hesitant because I don't want to get involved with someone who has so much going on and they're not in the right space to be with me." He's like, "That's why I'm hard to read, because I'm trying to keep myself at a distance because I don't know where you are." And then he's like, "But I like you. I really like you." And they start kissing. And I mean kissing. I mean head to the side, a little bit of tongue action, kissing. I mean, to where you can't kiss like that in church. You can't kiss. They That old Charity. So, but at least she know that he like her, and the reason why he been acting different, and it's a good reason. She just got divorced. She has a new baby. One of her twins died in her womb. It is a lot to deal with. Her uncle died and was killed by her sister. So it makes sense for what he's saying and the reason he's saying he's doing it. So, kudos. The next thing, Lord Jesus. Grace and Darius are having a conversation because she called him and invited him over to talk. And, she's like, I have trouble letting people in. But you told me your truth, and now I need to tell you mine. And then she goes on to tell him, Mac tried to assault me before he assaulted Faith. And he looked shocked like, oh my God. Because, of course, no one knew this. I always suspected it just because of how sure she was that he's done the things that he's done. And it came from a place of a person who knows that someone is capable of doing that. And sometimes you only know that because they tried it with you. Like, your ex is abusive if he's hit you before. You know what I'm saying? You know that, your ex is a thief if he stole from you. It's that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Anywho. So, she's like, I was able to fight him off. And, I ran away, but I never told anyone. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's awful. And she's like, no, what's awful is that I didn't say anything. I feel like if I would have said something to Faith, she might be alive right now. But, I never said anything. And for this past year, I have been crusading for people victims of his to come forward, but I myself never came forward, and I was the victim too. And she was like, now that he's dead, I just feel bad, like, I don't know how to move forward. And he goes on to tell her, no one believed you when you told them about Faith, so it could have been the same thing when you told them about yourself. They might not have believed you either. And she just saying, I just think, with Mac being dead, it's hitting me even more that, it's all my fault. I should have said something earlier. I don't know how to move on from having this realization of the fact that I did not speak up when I should have. And he's like, I think you know how. I think you just did. Meaning, you finally told someone. Because she told him, no one knows. I've never told anyone. So the first step in being able to move forward from it was telling him. And she didn't even realize it. And that's what she did. So the next scene that we see is Skanks, and he's announcing that he's going to be stepping down. He goes on to say, I have to, admit something, I'm going to be taking a leave. I'm going to be resigning as pastor. I have sinned against God. I have sinned against you all. He's admitting things without admitting things. He does say, I'm not going to go into details, but, I have sinned against God. I have sinned against you. And, it hurts me to have to do this, but I'm handing the reins over to a person who was deserving, a person who would, keep you all in good faith, a person who was deserving of being your leader. And I'm going to pass things over to Pastor Jacob Greenleaf. And, I hand the people, he said, I hand the people of God over to you. And him and Jacob, shake hands and they hug, and Jacob stands up and they all, receive it. His wife was crying, Carissa looks proud. Pastor, Bishop and May looks proud. I think I'm about to sneeze. Sneeze over. So, Pastor, Bishop Greenleaf and May are looking on. They're there too. They're proud. Their daughter was proud. It's a great moment for Jacob, but you can see how hard of a moment it is for Skanks as well. Kind of all in the same breath. And the last scene we see is Bishop and May going into Pastor Skanks' old office looking to find him. And they find Tasha, and she's sitting there crying. And May's like, he ran off, didn't he? And she's like, yeah, he left, yeah. And he was like, well, why are you still here? I'm surprised you're still here. Unless you know where he's going. And he's like, no, she said, no, I have no idea where he's going. He left. And he was like, and she said, why would he leave a woman? Why would he leave you here by yourself? And she's like, no, he wanted me to come with him, but I said I wouldn't go. I refuse to run with him. And, it's, I'm just so sad, I'm going to have to, make do without him. And she then says, the congregation was having a small get together for him for leaving. I'm going to have to make excuses for why he's not here. And Bishop is like, okay, it's, I knew he would do that. And, is it because he was scared to be locked up, to be arrested? She's like, yeah, Basie hates being in confined spaces. He just didn't like it. And then, she leaves or whatever and goes to the other people. And, they're like, dang, he's a sneaky one. He got out of here before anyone could catch him for what he's done. And now he's just basically on the run. The last thing that we see is, Bishop gets a phone call. And it's Lionel. Lionel is the father of the guy Kevin slept with. And I can't remember the guy's name right now. But he's also an old friend of the family. And clearly him and May must have slept together before. Because there's some kind of secret within all of that. And he's calling Bishop like, hey, Bishop, I have something I need to talk to you about. I need to talk to you about it in person. So I'll see you soon. And he's like, okay, I'll see you when you get here. And he looks at May and says, yeah. Lionel says he got something to tell me in person. And of course, May looks a little bit worried because that's I'm like, it's something with them. I don't know what, but it's something. So that's how the episode went off. There was another little scene of Grace going to the lake and not hearing Mac's voice. And she was actually smiling for the first time at the lake because the voice that she kept hearing telling her, kind of just haunting her, that voice is clear, meaning she's on the road to being better and getting over her own trauma. And that was the episode of Greenleaf. So yeah, as I said, it was a really good episode. I can't wait to see next week's episode when Jacob takes over as pastor. Carissa will be the new first lady, and things like that. I think the cotillion happens too, if I'm not mistaken. So can't wait for that. So that was my review of Greenleaf season 2 episode. I don't know because I already scanned past it, but you know what it was. But other than that, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and I will see you guys next time.